I think the first thing is improved vibes. I just love this first slide. I just think it's just like cool. I don't know. But also, you can see how it's gone from Oasis to the Focus Co, the business, and what we're doing. Right. So straight away, you see the first slide. You're curious about, you know, the product. It's like, what is this? But you also now know this is what the company is doing. They're building focus tools, neurodiversity. Okay, it's probably something to do with focus, or it is something to do with focus.
Also, very small thing, but on the other deck, we just had a cool angle of the render of the glasses. But here, I think just showing it straight away, this is how it sits on a person. And I think it just helps put it into context immediately rather than, yeah. So, green flag, or for me, a green flag. We think this is a green flag. We start with a story, we start with Joel.
So it actually took a really, like, this slide looks very simple, but it actually took a really long time to get it to this level of simplicity. We had a lot of other ways of framing the problem. We had a lot more detail at times, and I think we're now confident to have it this simple at this stage because of what we have now proven. It's like we don't need to prove as much anymore. And so here, like, we've kept it so simple, and it's just the one subtle thing is, and this is what we'd always try to get to and would be hard to explain to investors, is that we're addressing the environment of focus rather than the person's ability to focus. And that comes from like a research perspective. But again, investors typically just don't have the patience for you to explain that research thing. So we've just done it very subtly here, where it's like, rather than saying I struggle to focus, crossed out, it's I need the right space to focus. It's basically just communicating. It's not just about me, it's also my space.
And I think that statement of I need the right space to focus is a universal truth. If I think about it and I don't know anything about the product, it's like, well, yes, I do also need the right space to focus. I need my space in the office where it's cool and it's quiet and blah, blah, blah. So it's like something that you can immediately relate to and you understand. So we're not over explaining ADHD or over explaining this issue that maybe the investor doesn't have, but it's a universal thing while still being specific.
And so here, one advice we would get with the deck is you're basically telling a story. And so, because this is an email deck, this isn't something we present. What we're doing with the title of each slide is we're continuing the story. So it's like, this is the problem I had, so this is what I built. And this is the solution, right? So it's still following that investor format of problem solution, but we're just kind of putting it in a nice story. And it's just one, showing you the product, it's indicating how it works, and then it's showing you what it looks like to wear the product. And then you can see below in the corner we have US patent pending, because with any kind of hardware product, almost the first thing on any investor's mind is, does it have a patent? And so very quickly we just want to be like, yes, just to immediately remove that question, at least to an extent, from their mental framing of our business.
So one other dilemma with these intro decks is what you should and shouldn't have. So obviously it's short. So right now we don't have a competitor slide, or basically we had the slide before where it showed each alternative solution to the product, and I think it just gave it that bit more context and it helps frame the product better. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess like from pitching with a lot of different decks, I've realized that the solution has never really been what's been questioned about our business that much. Yeah, again, and it's like the investor mindset. It's like, okay, well, this is a solution to the problem. We don't yet know if it's the right solution, but this is a team that has executed, and this is clearly a problem, and it's clearly a big market. So that's what they're kind of looking at, and that's where we typically tend to get questions now. But yeah, that competitor kind of framing or that positioning of our product is also important, and it is something we've now brought that into our presentation deck, so that, if an investor sees this deck and then has that question, now they're actually like curious to meet us so that they can ask the question, or that kind of way, and then we answer it for them. But yeah, it's, as you said, it's like, what do you include, what do you don't include? It's tough when you have to condense it all into about 10 or whatever slides. Um, and then, yeah, this is our new Why Now slide. And again, you can see with our title, we're framing the Why Now in that story. It's still a story, basically. And so it has gone from only me having the problem to, hey, there's actually a lot more people who have this problem. And so we give kind of all these stats, very numerical stats, right? That just kind of very quickly communicate, okay, this is prevalent, you know, this solution should exist. But also showing that we're not a new kind of business. We're not approaching this in a completely novel way. There are other companies like Loop Earplugs who have addressed this, which is evidence of success of another company.
Yeah. It's like you almost want to make it easy for the investor to compare you to somebody else while still having your own differentiating factor. So now we have discovered the terms of TAM, SAM, SOM, and our first initial market. So here we've really broken it down to who are we targeting for the beginning. It's very specific, and it's also based on tests that we've done, based on traction, and also learning more about the US and how, again, it's a huge market. We can't just jump into it straight away. So let's focus on something small and something that we have the figures for right now. And yeah.
And I think something else we're doing here is we're saying that we're not only going to go after the ADHD market or neurodivergent market, we're also going to be positioned in that general productivity tools market, which a lot of investors have seen as an attractive aspect of our business. Is we have the ability to scale to a much broader market, even though our niche market is very scalable. It's something that investors have liked in our business proposition, is how we can position our products in for multiple use cases beyond our niche. And yeah, I think, we kind of touched on this in the very start of what we've basically done with the money that we've received. And so we didn't have this in our first deck because we hadn't done anything except make a deck. So now we basically have actual traction points. And honestly, I've seen other startup decks that would just start with this. They literally just start with how the traction they have. And the reason for that is no matter what idea you have, as long as you can basically show that there's a demand and credible concrete demand for what you're selling, it completely changes the mindset of the investor, because now it's not proving and potential and this might happen. It's this is happening, and even if you don't understand this business, something's happening here basically. And so this is probably one of the most important slides that we have in this deck, because if there's any doubt still, it's okay, there's actual credibility here. And even again, how we framed this, it's we've de-risked the early stage. We're not saying we've proven the business or everything's going to be successful or we've de-risked everything. It's just we've de-risked the early stage, so we're not getting ahead of ourselves. We're just saying this is what we've done now, which indicates where we can go in the future, basically.
Just need to mention your credibility and what makes you relevant to the role and your achievements that are relevant to the role, so an investor can just check that off. While before we were focusing on a story and how we're all best friends, but I think you can get that across in how you present, so you don't need to kind of mention all that stuff in your personal bios. So yeah. And yes, we have the ask, which is all blurred out, but we have the ask and what we're going to use it for and what is going to be the outcome.
Yeah, and I think it's not only an ask, but it's also this is where it's going to bring us to, and this is what we're going to achieve from that. And this is where we're going to be at the end of our seed round, basically, and just breaking it down as well, so that it's a very it's not just an ask that we've gotten from nowhere. It's actually logical and strategic, as you've said. But like and subscribe, buy the product. Don't do what we did at the start. Yeah.
Ciao, cacao.